Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at BellisioFoods.com/careers.
All right, you've had a month now, and you still haven't found it. What are you out there doing right now? Are you even listening to the clues? Do you want to win the KOs or not? Listen to the Mix FM. JJ, gosh, tell them what they got to do, man, because obviously they aren't doing it right.
You got to be listening for the clues again each weekday morning when you wake up bright and early at 6 a.m. Matt McKee, Matt and the Morning Crew, they'll have that clue first thing for you bright and early each weekday morning. Again, go out and find that key packet. We stashed it good somewhere across southern Ohio. We're not saying where. You just got to listen for the clues. And again, when you think you know where it's at, go find that key packet. Stop by our Total Media Studios at the Stockmeister Plaza on Main Street in Jackson. Turn it in, and you're going to write off on a KO Predator 125 or a KO Storm 150 from your friends at Honda Suzuki Polaris K&M of Jackson and Total Media.
Better hurry, or it's going to be well used.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to the morning show right here on Main Street TV. And of course, Jennifer here to start off your Monday with our good friend, Pete Wilson, and the morning news update.
You're here another week. Let's roll.
Let's do this.
That's right.
And let's see.
It's not spring break for us, is it?
No, it's not.
That's right. Okay.
See, the band is headed to
We love what
Disney.
we do. So.
Yeah, we do.
Right.
That's right. And who doesn't want to start off their Monday morning talking about news? But no, the Jackson Band headed to Disney today, right?
Well, I think they're leaving late this morning. I showed up early this morning when they were at the high school with my 50-year-old trombone, but I was rejected.
They didn't take you?
No, I'm not going to get to go. I've tried to arrange for coverage later on, but no, I didn't get to go.
Sheesh, Pete, I'm so sorry. You know the ironic
I'm
thing?
here instead because I didn't want to miss talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay, that's all right.
No, I was talking with a friend in Columbus. She had sent me a message the other day and said, hey, headed out to Disney World this week. And I was like, well, you want to hear some irony? Because you may run into the Jackson High School Band.
Uh-huh.
So she was like, oh my God, I'll look for them.
If they're at the Magic Kingdom on Thursday, they most certainly will.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a small world, thing.
That's right.
So
and you can
cool.
go on the ride. It's a small world if you want to when you're there at the Magic Kingdom.
If you want to, which may or may not.
Is there something going on with that ride I don't know about?
Well,
It's just annoying.
it's that's one of those rides that
You'll
you
be
either
hearing that
think
song in your head at night, right?
and God forbid the ride stop.
It's a small world after all.
And you get stuck in there.
It's a small world after all. It's a small
It's more
world
like
after
this.
all. Boom, 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 boom.
Thank you, Pete. That
Thank
will
you,
be
Pete.
stuck in my head for 3 days.
I know.
Okay, well, exactly.
But no, there's like these little creepy kids in there dancing around and stuff. And if you get stuck in that ride, it's like nightmare. It's James, it's nightmare fuel.
But it is very visual and nice,
is
though,
very-
isn't it?
and it's
A
cute.
trip around the world, right?
I
Yeah.
remember my aunt and uncle taking me to Disney when I was a little kid, and they were like, we really don't want to have to go in there again.
Do you know what ride at Disney that I don't know why, it just, when I get on it, I laugh uncontrollably, and it's called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Have you ever been on that one?
I think I've been on that once or twice.
It is hysterical. I don't know why it makes me laugh. It's just one of those goofy rides that you're just like, what is happening right now? Oh, well.
Yeah, and the Peter Pan ride is nice, too.
Peter Pan. Why do I not remember Peter Pan?
Peter Pan's Wild Flight or something like that. You go up in the air and everything.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's in one of those inside, right? It's almost right across from It's a Small World.
Okay.
Kind of in the section for the kids.
Okay.
Where
And
I
then
know
you
it's
get
safe
the-
for me to go. I'm not going to get
where
sick.
And you can ride the Dumbo ride and
Dumbo's there
Yeah.
too.
prettiest carousel, beautiful carousel at
Oh
Disney.
my, yes.
And Haunted Mansion's fun.
Yes, it is. Seldom can you get through that without a breakdown along the way, but it's nice.
That is true. And ghosts sit with you. It's kind of creepy.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
It is a very special place, and we're so glad the kids are going to be able to experience that.
Well, it was interesting because there were 3 band members in here the other day, including our Dylan, and none of them had ever been to Disney. So,
Okay.
I mean, I just am under this thing that every child should see Disney at least once, and you should see it through the eyes of a child or a young person before you're jaded and, whatever, because it is such a magical place.
It certainly is. And, with the multiple parks over there, a water park, and then, the 4 main parks,
Yeah.
it's, if you have a child and they've reached the age of 4 or whatever, if there's any way that you can save the money so you can go.
It is very expensive, but
you will be glad that you did it.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And they should all get to see it.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. That's your Disney report for the day.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, it is spring break week for some of the schools. We know the Jackson City schools because it aligned right with their Disney trip.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it's a busy news week as we begin the month of April. And we're going to talk about, some things that have happened, some things that are kind of happening today, kind of breaking news that, we'll report on later, electronically on the Telegram website.
Okay.
We'll set the table a little bit now. One of the big stories that's unfolding as we speak is a double homicide murder trial in Benton County. And the
Sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you. The defendant
tried
is
to-
August Christopher Schutz. He is 35 years old from Wellston. And there he is right there. He was one of 2 defendants who was arrested in the wake of a double murder that occurred last March
Yes.
at a residence at Frazee Lane. I believe it's just outside the village of MacArthur, very near the village of MacArthur. The other defendant, Shania Jones, has pled out. She is 27 years old, also from Wellston. She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder. And her sentencing is on hold right now. There's what they call a pre-sentence investigation going on.
Okay.
Some factors that the judge weighs before he does sentencing, and that is in the court of Judge James Salyer. Judge Salyer will be presiding over the trial today. It is scheduled to start today, and it is scheduled through April the 12th, which would be a week from this Wednesday.
Okay.
So, a lot of possible testimony there. It may not go that long, but they have reserved that much time for it. The first thing that happens in any trial, first of all, it has to get started. Just in case, there's any last-minute deal or whatever,
Right.
plea deal. It could happen. It could happen. We've not heard that that's happened yet, but, our associate editor, Phil Buffington, is monitoring that, and hopefully, if the trial does go forward, and we expect it to, he will be, covering that and let us know what's going on. But August Christopher Schutz is charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of voluntary manslaughter, 1 count of aggravated burglary, 2 counts of felonious assault, 1 count of tampering with evidence, and 1 count of gross abuse of a corpse. And you may say, well, let's see, we got some duplication there. Aggravated murder,
Yeah.
involuntary manslaughter.
So I was going to ask
I'll
you.
tell you, I'm not an attorney, but I think the reason that's done is it's called CYA for the prosecution. The jury's got to decide what they're guilty of. The jury may decide on the most serious of those charges, which
Gotcha.
is aggravated murder. That means prior calculation. Murder, which means you're responsible for it, but it wasn't planned. Now, this is real basic that I'm giving
Yeah.
you. And then involuntary manslaughter, meaning you didn't mean to kill him at all, but you did.
Okay.
All right?
Which are 3 completely different.
Right, and, with different penalties possibly
Yeah,
and all
sure.
like that. And I think they could be convicted of all of them, but you throw it all out there. That way, if you feel that the defendant is guilty of aggravated murder, the jury doesn't have the option of saying, well, you know what, I think that the defendant did it, but I don't think it was planned or anything like that. And you find him innocent because
right.
you don't think it's aggravated
So they're
murder.
just
You think
throwing
it's
all the charges out
That's
there.
exactly
Yeah.
right. That's why you see those layers of charges and
Sure.
like that. But But anyway, what normally happens, if the trial does go, and it may be going now, not sure what time they were going to start, is jury selection. And that can take a long time. You usually have a large pool of jurors. Each side, the defense and the prosecution, interviews the jurors, and they decide, if the juror is suitable for them. If and that they have certain ones that they can say, no, we don't want this person or whatever. That's why they have a large pool of jurors there that they feel would be neutral and fair, that both sides are capable of. If a person has a predisposition, a predisposed opinion, they know a little bit too much about the case,
Sure.
They may be ruled out simply because of that.
Yep.
So the bottom line is, you would think, that wouldn't take that long, but it could take all day today.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see. Remember, they've scheduled 8 days, 8 working days for this trial. So we will see what happens, and we will certainly be following that. But the persons who were killed, that happened on March 1, 2022. Jerry Brown and Lawrence McMichael, they were both from outside Vinton County. They were killed by gunshot at this Frazee Lane MacArthur home. That is where their bodies were found. Later on, both Shania Jones and August Christopher Schutz were arrested in Wellston that same day. So we will see what happens there, and we will be following that. All right, this last weekend, we warned everybody on Friday about the high wind advisory.
Whew.
It did come, didn't it?
Oh, it sure did.
Right, and there was some power outages, not to the extent it was the previous weekend, but pretty bad. There were, at the height on Saturday, there were 960 Jackson County residents and 370 Vinton County residents who were without power.
Not as bad, yeah.
Not,
you're right.
not as
Still
bad.
not good, but not as bad.
bad. And they were able to restore a lot of it by Sunday. As we speak, and maybe it's even changed since I checked just after 8 a.m., everybody was restored in Jackson County and Vinton County if you're an AEP Ohio customer. And then if you're a Buckeye Rural customer, everybody's restored in Jackson County, and there are only 2 outages left in Vinton County.
Okay.
There are some scattered around the area, but most of the people have been restored. Now, there was quite a bit of related disruptions, trees that came down over roadways.
Man, oh man.
This tree, a lot of folks in Jackson will recognize it.
Whoops.
That tree is in the residence of Randy Ridge, which
Yes.
is right there along Huron Street and Vaughn Street, right there at the corner as you go up the way to the high school.
Yes.
And that he has several trees that are big, and I'm sure they got some age to them. And this one came down sometime. I noticed it on Sunday.
Thank God it didn't fall in their beautiful house.
No, I was very lucky myself in the derecho that occurred several years ago. I had a spruce tree about 150 feet high that fell, and somehow it missed my house. Very
man.
lucky. I couldn't believe it. I looked out the window, and there it was. But this was a big tree that came down there. But some trees came down on power lines. That's why we had power outages. Sometimes I think the lines were just blown down. We had trees over roads. We had power lines over roads. There was quite a few alerts put out by the
I
sheriff's
know.
office.
It's just like it just kept going on Saturday.
Where sections of roads were
Hey, there's
closed.
another road closed.
That really affected you, if you were trying to get out on that road or you live on that road
Absolutely.
or whatever, and potentially dangerous when the power lines are down.
Sure.
And remember, when the wind is blowing, 35, 40 miles per hour, it's hard for the power companies to make their repairs.
Correct.
Safely.
Yes.
And, you're out there doing anything out in that wind, it's hard to get any kind of work done,
Well, James and I were just talking about that off the air of the power companies and those guys and gals that are out there. Just dealing with electric in general is just so dangerous and such a skilled thing, not to mention the fact that, the wind is blowing 100 miles an hour too. I mean, it's just like nuts. Crazy.
Exactly. So 2 Saturdays in a row, we've had the high winds, and I think you can make book when you have winds that reach at least 35 miles per hour. You're going to have some power outages
You are.
there. And if you live out in a remote area or whatever, it may be a little bit of a longer wait because the problem is the power. The repair crews are working everywhere. In this case, I think they were ready. The forecast was out there well in advance.
It was.
That there was going to be high winds, and so I think they really did a very good job this time. Not quite as many people out of power, and restoration happened quicker this time, so that was good for everybody. Okay, also kind of on the hard news front, this past weekend, this was actually Friday afternoon, there was a fire that occurred at 1733 Glenroy Road. That's in Cole Township.
Oh.
There was a house, it's been vacant for 4 years, abandoned, and it caught fire. Now, this was a little bit suspicious.
Sounds suspicious.
Right, because there's no utilities at all hooked up. Not only did nobody live there, but no utilities hooked up, which, you immediately think electric or something like that may
Right.
have caused the fire. So it is under investigation. We got that news from Johnny Baker, who is the Colton fire chief. We appreciate him giving us information as soon as possible.
Okay.
But they were, the firefighters from Colton had help from Wellston and Hamden fire departments. They were on the scene for several hours there, and as I said, that fire is under investigation. It happened once again on Glenroy Road in Cole Township, north of Colton and between Colton and Wellston, and pretty much destroyed that home. Happened in the middle of the day, so.
Strange.
All right, and we're speaking of hard news now, and we go back to the criminal justice front. We had a story in our Saturday paper. It was on the front page that involved a flight, a pursuit. They didn't get their man immediately, but they arrested him later, and that man's name is Dakota Jones. Dakota Jones, 29 years old, had a warrant for his arrest. He fled into the woods to elude law enforcement. There is Dakota Jones up there. James got his picture up there. He got away initially, but was located and captured later the same day. This was a story out in the county. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office reported it. It happened back on Thursday, March the 23rd. We had to wait a little bit to get all the details, but we did get it and into our newspaper on Saturday. We knew that there was a pursuit, but we didn't have names or anything like that because it was under investigation. There wasn't a report done. But at 8:20 a.m. on Thursday, March the 23rd, a caller reported that an adult male, an adult female, and a young juvenile were walking along the roadway on State Route 788 near Mercer's Sanitation. The caller advised that at one point the male, who turned out to be Dakota Jones, was in the roadway throwing his hands around and was possibly under the influence. That was the caller. A Jackson County Sheriff's deputy went out there, caught up with the suspects west of U.S. Route 35 overpass bridge on State Route 78. That's not too far out of Jackson. When a deputy activated the cruiser's light bar and exited the patrol car, the male, who was wearing a hoodie and jeans, took off running through an adjacent yard, headed up U.S. 35, and ran into the woods. There was a search for a time, but they did not locate the suspect. The female was interviewed, taken into custody. Her name was Ashley Brown, age 31, of Thurman. She emptied her pockets and pulled out a lighter and a small black bag that contained a crystallized clear substance that they believe was crystal methamphetamine. Also, law enforcement removed the drugs from her hand and secured it. Authorities placed Brown and the juvenile into the back of the patrol car. They went to go look for Dakota Jones,
Sure.
but they did not find Dakota Jones. However, later that day, they found him at a residence on Fairgrounds Road and took him into custody. He had been indicted. He was wanted anyway, so that was probably part of the reason.
Probably why he ran.
Probably that he ran, not just that maybe he was under the influence, and that's just speculative. He wasn't charged with that immediately. But he had been indicted on one count of aggravated possession of drugs for methamphetamine by a Jackson County grand jury in May of 2021. The matter had come before the court. However, he did not show up for court, once he was indicted. So he was wanted,
Yes.
as it was, and they were able to arrest him and take him into custody. So now he has the old charge and the trial that was set for before, and now he has this new problem. All right, speaking of the criminal justice system, this was a case that came in Jackson out of the Jackson Police Department. We talked about it on the news, but there's been a new development. David Kenneth Hexler, age 37, of 78 Broadway Street, Jackson. I may have that name wrong. I don't think that he is no longer a resident of that address, but that's the address at the time of the trouble. He's age 37. He was arrested last December by Jackson Police following the execution of a search warrant there at 78 Broadway Street after the police had received information from the Internet Crimes Against Children organization. He was then indicted last January on 3 fourth-degree felony counts of pandering obscenity involving a minor and a third-degree felony count of failure to notify change of address, because he had been in trouble before, was labeled as a sex offender and did not tell them that he had moved from one location to another. So he was in trouble for both of those things. The new development is, and this just came out in court at the end of February, after an additional investigation, he now faces 3 additional counts of pandering obscenity involving a minor. And these are actually second-degree felonies, which are higher than what he was charged with before. And this is another case.
This is in a separate incident?
This is a superseding indictment that will take precedence over the previous indictment that came after the search warrant was executed last December. There's a lot of details involved here, but the bottom line is this is another crime or alleged crime about electronic downloading of pornographic material that involves children.
Okay.
All right, so that is another case that will be moving into Jackson County Common Pleas Court. All right, there was a very important regional meeting, or notable regional meeting, that was held at the new Vinton County Sheriff's Office last
Did they get moved finally all the way?
Mostly.
Okay.
According to the sheriff, I'll give you some advanced news on this. I was going to talk about this next.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. 75% moved in, Jennifer.
Okay.
They're still doing some work at the old sheriff's office, but it's been closed to the public now for 3 months. The sheriff's office is out there, the chief deputy is out there, all the communications is out there, dispatching and like that. If you have a report, you have business with the sheriff's office, you go to the new office, which is on State Route 93, north of MacArthur. It is the old Vinton County Department of Developmental Disabilities office. That's what it was known as, and that was what was there before the sheriff's office moved in. It is a county-owned building. But this big meeting that was held was last Tuesday, March the 28th. Of course, our Red Thompson Jr. was there, and it was billed as the next generation of 9/11 emergency communications system meeting. And the Ohio Department, and here are some of the people who were there. Law enforcement officers who were there from Vinton, Meigs, and Jackson counties, and some of those folks are from Vinton, are from Vinton and Jackson counties. Of course, the sheriff, Ryan Kane from Vinton County, was the host there. There he is, right there, Ryan Kane. He's had a lot on his table lately because you had 2 murder cases, that they investigated, and of course it's just busy anyway with regular everyday crime. And of course, now for months they've been in this transition of moving from their 1861 office to their new place. And when you've got communications and a 911 system
involved,
gosh,
that would be a nightmare.
It's pretty complicated. You want to make sure that it's working. But this regional meeting they chose to hold there. It was even though it was at the sheriff's office, the Ohio Department of Administrative Services scheduled the meeting to give law enforcement officers and first responders and 9/11 communications professionals news about new communication improvements that are going to be given to our area from the state. And Kathleen Madden was there. She is the director of the Ohio Department of Administrative Services. There she is. You probably haven't heard of her, but this is a very important cabinet position.
Okay.
And one of the other people that were there, little local connection there, was Justin Lovett. Justin, of course, former Jackson County prosecutor.
Yeah.
And, of course, he resigned his position at early this year. I think it was effective January 6th. And we didn't know it then, but he transitioned into a new job with the Ohio Department of Administrative Services. Very important job on the legal side of that. And he was at this meeting as well. But the purpose of it, once again, was for Madden to announce some upgrades that it's going to be available electronically. There were fire department people there. There were EMS people there as well. They're going to have improvements to the MARCS systems. That the MARCS radio system is now what a lot of the emergency responders use to communicate during an emergency.
Okay.
Through vehicles, through handheld radios, of course, through the 9/11 central stations there at sheriff's office and so forth. And the other thing that they will do is they're switching from traditional copper to fiber optic technology. Now, I can't explain why that's good, but I know it's good.
It's good.
All right, but it will be an upgrade in communication.
Sure.
It will be very good for the first responders when they're out on the scene of an emergency as far as communicating with the base and with each other out in the field.
Okay.
And we will have that story in our Wednesday paper. Red Thompson Jr. worked very, very hard on that. Okay, in the Upward and Onward department, another good thing, this was in Jackson County. And I know this doesn't sound exciting, but it is important, Jennifer. And as a person that's been involved with economic development through your business, you probably are aware of this. But there's, of course, the Jackson County Economic Development Partnership, formerly known as the Jackson County Economic Development Office. Sam Brady, president and CEO, office out there on McCarty Lane. But then you have a lesser-known group called the Jackson County Port Authority. They can do certain things as Port Authority legally that economic development offices can't do. There's things that Port Authority can't do that Economic Development Partnership do.
Yes.
But there is a group called the Jackson County Port Authority that has been in being now for a number of years. And like Patrick Ball is on that. Curtis Strickland, who is the Oak Hill Chamber of Commerce leader, he is on that. There's 4 or 5 people that are on that committee. There has been an agreement that has been reached. It was finalized, formalized, and publicized at a recent meeting of the Jackson County Commissioners. There is now an agreement between the Jackson County Economic Development Partnership and the Port Authority, not to merge, but to have a partnership, so that both of them will be able to do more together and work better for economic development projects. One of the limitations of the Port Authority is that they don't have full-time staff. They have a board, but they don't have full-time staff. So when they can maybe receive some money and there's administration work, the JCEDP, the Economic Development Partnership, can do it. And also, Economic Development Partnership can get involved in some projects because they have a staff. The Port Authority would not maybe have had any legs to do because they don't have a staff.
Right.
So it is a great marriage between the two.
Very good.
And they formalized this at a recent meeting. As a matter of fact, Jackson County Port Authority Chair Patrick Ball, he called it a happy, happy day for Jackson County. That is all of them there. You're all smiling there. From left to right, you've got County Commissioner Donnie Willis. You've got Jennifer Jacobs, who was the Economic Development Partnership Chair and still now a very important behind-the-scenes helper for Sam Brady. You've got County Commissioner Paul Haller. You've got Patrick Ball with the Port Authority. You've got Sam Brady. Him and Patrick Ball are holding the papers, announcing the partnership or formalizing it. Sam Brady, President and CEO of the Economic Development Partnership. You have Amanda Williams there with the Economic Development Partnership. And on the end, County Commissioner John Hensler. Once again, I know this doesn't sound like exciting stuff, but it's very important behind the scenes.
It is.
For economic development. And we had that story in one of our papers last week. We put it on the front page because it was worthy of that. And, you know, when something happens that maybe wouldn't have happened if it weren't for that partnership, we'll try to point that out so you'll know.
Correct.
The Economic Development Partnership here in Jackson County has been very successful.
Yes.
It truly has with the work they do, mostly behind the scenes. And I tell you what, Jennifer, I know everybody thinks, oh, okay, we're going to get this new plant with 100 jobs, or we're going to get this big expansion with 50 jobs, or whatever. The biggest thing that an economic development office can do is not only help new entrepreneurs, but even more important maybe is to help current businesses.
Existing businesses.
Right, with
For sure.
getting grants and helping them with advice and hooking them up with state agencies or whatever who state and even private agencies that can help them with their project.
Well, and we're so blessed with the economic development folks that we have here in our area, and they've been very integral in, as I've said 100 times here on this program, getting government to understand that we exist down here. We didn't have a voice before, and now we do.
Right, exactly.
With our awesome, amazing economic development folks. And I don't know what happened, but they've done a great job, and kudos to them for that.
Right, and the Economic Development Partnership, very much a public-private partnership. They count on some support from the government, cooperation with the government, because sometimes the money is going to come through governments. But you've got to have that private sector thing too, because they are the ones who really create the jobs. They may not always be able to fund them with the grants, because it's public money, but they are the ones who make the jobs happen.
Absolutely.
Of course. And you've got to have that marriage, that synergy between the two.
Yep.
All right, another thing. This was in the news earlier, and I don't know that it's going to get knocked off track, but remember we announced earlier in the year, it was announced through the Columbus Diocese of the Catholic Church that St. Peter and Paul School in Wellston,
Yes.
beloved St. Peter and Paul School in Wellston, was going to be closed at the end of this school year. It came from Father Hergé, who is the father for the 3 Catholic churches that are in Jackson, Wellston, and Zaleski. But the school, people need to understand, yes, it is a Catholic school, but a lot of non-Catholics also have gone there through the
Absolutely.
years. Excellent reputation.
Yes.
It kind of caught, from what I understand, people by surprise that this decision was made. They knew that there were issues, there always is, to fund a private school. But, and there was declining enrollment too, not precipitous, but steady declining enrollment. That was a factor. But they pulled the plug on it. That decision was made at the highest level, I'm sure, or at least approved at the highest level by the Columbus Diocese. I know that privately there's been efforts to maybe lobby, maybe get
Yes.
some changing of the mind or whatever. A lot of that has not been announced. It's behind the scenes. But one of the things that was not behind the scenes was at the last meeting, the county commissioners here in Jackson County wrote a letter, publicized it to the Columbus Diocese, asking that the decision on St. Peter and Paul School be reconsidered.
Good.
So we'll see what happens there. But they pointed out the importance of St. Peter and Paul School in the past, its importance ongoing in the future, and
Yes.
so forth. And it was a statement from, I guess, the broadest public body in Jackson County, because the commissioners represent the whole county, that this was important to people.
Sure, absolutely.
So once again, we had that story in the paper too, and it's online as well. In that, it's got the letter from Father Hergé announcing the closure, but it came on a Friday, as a lot of times bad news is often passed out because it gives you time to settle down over the weekend or whatever,
I
and forget about it.
guess.
It's very tactical.
Yes.
That's my opinion. That's when a lot of times bad news is delivered, and this bad news was delivered on a Friday as well. So we will see what happens. There's still maybe some time involved there. Money can resolve a lot of things, but once again, how much, tuition had to be paid. So, when you send a kid to St. Peter and Paul School, you're paying your regular property taxes like you sent your kid to public school, but you're also
Sure.
paying for tuition for the supposed benefits of being in a private school. And now, it looks like that parents are not going to have that option. That was one of the things in the commissioner's letter. It's an important option to have. So
Absolutely.
the only other private school that we have in Jackson County that I know of would be CLA.
Yes.
And there are more and more students now going to CLA. It's been successful as well. All right. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We told you that when we talked on Friday. But once again, we want to remind you, today is Pinwheel Day. If you want to symbolically show your support for awareness of the child abuse problems, and I think I threw some statistics at you that were terrifying.
It's
I
not
know
good.
I know that numbers are boring, but behind the numbers, if you think about it, it's scary, the amount of child abuse, and that still a lot of it is not reported.
A lot.
But one of the things they're going to do to create visual awareness, they hope that when you see the pinwheels, you'll think about the problem of child abuse awareness. There's going to be 3 pinwheel plantings today. The wind has cooled down a little bit, so they won't blow away immediately 1 p.m. in Wellston. I think that's at the City Building. 2 p.m. in Jackson. I think that's at Manpower Park. And 3 p.m. at Wellston there at the Oak Hill Village Square, which I'm pretty sure that is Etna Park there where the City Building is.
Okay.
There's going to be the same delegation going around to the county, 1, 2, and 3 p.m.s.
Okay.
And then there'll be local officials from each of those governmental entities, I'm sure, that will be at the individual pinwheel plantings. All right. Also, as we speak, it may even be over right now. The Jackson County Democratic Executive Committee was having a virtual meeting.
That was today.
It was at 8:30 a.m.
Oh.
It still may be going on, but the purpose of that meeting, chairman is Lisa Parker. You know, this controversy has played out here the last week or so. The Democrats can recommend an appointment to the Jackson County Board of Elections office, the deputy director position. Remember, Marcia Beatty had this position.
Yes.
And could not get the support of the Republican members there, the affirmation. And then the Republican Secretary of State sided with the Republican members on the argument that Marcia Beatty was not suitable for this job. The Democrats, of course, crying foul, feeling that that's a political decision that was not fair. So it's still back in the wheelhouse of the Democrats. They've got to make a recommendation. I understand from Phil Buffington, who's following this story as well, that later today the Board of Elections is going to meet, and I suppose that maybe one of the pieces of business will be the new recommendations from the Democrats will be before that board again. So we'll see what happens.
Well, are we going to keep going with this, Pete, though, where it's just no matter who's recommended, it's going to be a fight, or?
Well, I mean, we certainly hope not.
It's really bizarre.
We certainly hope not. Once again, trying to be fair on this because, we reported on it in depth, but we're not there on the front lines.
Yeah.
Once again, the Republicans say they're just trying to make sure that competent people are on these important elections position. And the Democrats are saying, hey, it's always been almost a formality. Each party gets who they want.
Yeah.
At the very least, what they say is that Marcia Beatty has not had did not have a chance, to grow in the job and to stay in that job. And everybody says that Marcia Beatty is a nice person. I know this whole thing has had to be embarrassing for her. All sides agree to that, but both sides feel that they're in the right. So we hope that
this is why we're not on it and someone else is, right? We
Right.
don't have to make these decisions.
We hope that if the Democrat appointee is approved, the recommended person is approved. If they do get that recommendation done at the meeting this morning, we hope that peace will preside because we've got a primary election coming up, remember, in just about a month.
Yes.
And speaking of that, today is the deadline to, if you're not registered to vote in Jackson or Vinton counties or anywhere in the state of Ohio, to get your registration done. You can do it at the Board of Elections and some other places.
Okay.
But if you're not registered at all, or maybe you lost your registration because some people lost their registration because they haven't been active.
If you don't, vote.
Or you're new in Jackson County, or maybe you've never voted before. You need to get that done today. Get
in there.
I believe the Board of Elections office will be open later, maybe by at least 1 hour today.
Okay.
But then tomorrow, we'll start early voting for the May 2 primary.
Is that already?
Yes, and there will be extended hours that will get more extended as we get closer to the election, and we'll be announcing those and putting those in the paper as well. All right, on the good news side, at the last Wellston School Board meeting, David O'Brien, who is a Wellston middle school teacher, he received the Outstanding Middle School Teacher Award representing the Wellston City Schools for the Coalition of Rural and Appalachian Schools. That coalition names a member from each school, provided the school makes that nomination, to give that teacher some recognition.
That's awesome.
And there he is right there. That's him holding the trophy, the little trophy he got from the Wellston schools for that. And that is pictured are WMS principal Roby Browning. Roby is the second from the left there. Then, of course, you have David O'Brien and you have Superintendent Brian Rao.
Yep.
Then you have Then you have
We've got two pictures here. I think it's the same thing, Pete. So maybe you got the
okay.
you got the names.
Okay, there we are. They were related, but now I'm with you, buddy. You've got the right picture up there. Thank you. You have Roby Browning on the left. He is the middle school principal at Wellston.
Okay.
Then in the middle, you have David O'Brien. And then on the right, you have Superintendent Dr. Brian Rao. The confusion there, folks, was that Chorus announced this award, and then Wellston made it a big deal at their last school board meeting because it was two different people announcing good news.
Yeah.
So this was the picture that Phil Buffington took at the Wellston school board meeting. So thanks for getting that straight there for us, James. But anyway, David O'Brien, very well, highly thought of as a social studies teacher at Wellston High School. And it's so great that the school districts, the Coalition of Appalachian Rural Schools, the Ohio School Boards Association goes out of their way to identify and publicize and honor and recognize these teachers on the front lines who do a great job.
For sure.
And it's always supervisors and peers that are making these choices. So a round of applause for
Good
David
job.
O'Brien. All right, I think Jennifer West was that winner in the Jackson City schools, and we
Okay.
announced that earlier. Okay, this news was not very good out of Vinton County, but the story is not over. The Vinton County Development Department, on behalf of the Vinton County Commissioners, was seeking CDBG money, that is Community Development Block Grant money.
Yep.
They were hoping to get the funding, or most of the funding necessary, to move the Vinton County EMS station, which is currently north of MacArthur on State Route 93, to the former home of the Vinton County Highway Department on Walnut Street in MacArthur. The reason they wanted to do this is they have concerns with the current facility on State Route 93. It's not big enough. Remember, EMS is a 24/7 deal.
It
Where
is.
you have the staffers, sleeping. They're there for a shift. They're there overnight or wherever.
Sure.
And then, they go to work when there's a call. Just like Chicago Fire and Chicago EMS and all like that. But anyway, they want to move into a bigger facility, a county-owned facility that is available and vacant. It's vacant because the County Highway Department moved into the former ODOT office, or the ODOT garage, when the ODOT garage built a new facility on State Route 93 north of MacArthur. So that building is there, and it's better. It's got more garage space. It's bigger. Some renovation and conversion work needs to be done, but they feel
But it's certainly
they feel that it
suitable
could be
for-
very doable.
Yeah.
They don't have enough parking spaces for the ambulances up at the old spot. You have medicines there in even though they're locked up, they're parked outside. Probably not the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, because it's not climate controlled.
And because the facility is not big enough, it's hard to totally separate, the lodging quarters from the office and all like that. And so, but anyway, they were a little bit surprised and disappointed. They were initially turned down by CDBG. I guess the reason was because they felt that structurally, the building up on State Route 93 is not really in that bad shape. And it really isn't. It's just not big enough, and it's not adequate for what EMS needs it for. Another issue is State Route 93 north of MacArthur can be very busy. And when EMS ambulances pull out, they're in a hurry. And sometimes they're waiting for traffic to pass. This seems like a small thing, but this is considered to be an issue.
No, it's very valid.
Right. Now, they've had success getting CDBG monies before, and one of the reasons is because of the percentage of low to moderate income of the residents of Vinton County.
Yeah.
It puts you on a higher level for possible funding because of the need in the county, the
Sure.
financial need of the overall population. They are going to try again to get a grant, and this time they're going to emphasize, even though the building is adequate structurally, they're going to they did this before, but they're really going to hit on the reasons why that facility is not adequate for an EMS building.
Right.
And hope that they get funded this time. So we'll
Okay.
certainly be watching that. Okay, at the last Vinton County School Board meeting, since we're up north right now, we talked about all the good things that happen in a school district, and now school districts are seem to like a much better job using the school board meeting as a platform to publicize achievement within the school district, maybe to some students and some groups that aren't always in the spotlight.
Sure.
Maybe, they're not throwing the winning touchdown pass or getting elected as the queen of the turkey festival or whatever.
Or the horses.
Or the winner even of the spelling bee or whatever. But we had a big story in our Saturday paper. It took up most of the page, so you might want to check that out. It's online, of course, on some of these awards. But one of those winners was Jay Wallace. He was a Vinton County Middle School computer science teacher. There is him on the left, getting congratulated by Board President Cindy Strasbaugh. He was the outstanding middle school teacher of the Coalition of Rural Appalachia Schools for Vinton County.
Wow.
So Jay Wallace was in the same category as David O'Brien and Jennifer West.
Nice.
So congratulations to Jay Wallace. He is the computer science teacher for Vinton County Middle School.
I'd say that's a very important position.
There were other honorees as well. One of the honorees was the Vinton County Vikings basketball team. They won the Tri-Valley Conference Championship. N.J. Kite was Coach of the Year in the district. The bowling team, the girls' bowling team, had one of their best seasons in school history. And Michael Ramsey placed fourth in the business and professional state competition for the Microsoft Network Administration in Columbus. He was one of the honorees as well. You don't hear about those kids all the time, and they were in the spotlight at this last school board meeting. Vinton County Development Director Terry Featherhoff wanted us to get this out on all of our media platforms. The county has been awarded federal funds from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, that's FEMA, under the Emergency Food and Shelter National Board Program. $10,080 will be coming in Phase 40 Emergency Food and Shelter Program funding. Now, this money comes into the county, and then the county allocates it to agencies or organizations who can use this money for this type of purpose. So local agencies chosen to receive these funds must be private, voluntary nonprofits, so they probably need it, or they can also be units of government, and they have to be eligible to deliver federal funds, have an accounting system, practice non-discrimination, have demonstrated the capacity to deliver emergency food and shelter programs, and if they're a private and voluntary organization, they must have a voluntary board in that 501(c) status. But anybody, any agency, organizations, public or private, that wants to be awarded these funds or a share of these funds should contact the local board chair, and that is Vinton County Development Director Terry Featherhoff. Her office is right across from the courthouse, and that number is 740-596-3529, 740-596-3529. You may not be able to remember the number, but we've got the article in the paper, and we're going to put it again in there on Wednesday. You have until Thursday, April 20th, to apply for these funds. Okay, this past weekend, we're going to have coverage later, but we want to let you know what happened. The Wellston High School Drama Club performed the Adams Family School Edition, Uncle Fester, Little Wednesday, Gomez Adams, and Morticia, all of them. The Thing, I suppose Lurch was there. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see it, but those are all Adams Family characters.
You didn't see Lurch when he was in here the other day?
Lurch was here. Okay,
Yes.
There was a Lurch. Okay, they're being consistent there with the original sitcom. But Jeremiah Shaver was there, said he enjoyed the play. We're going to have some photo coverage later on.
Good.
On that.
Lots of fun.
You're wondering, because of all the rain on Friday and because of the high winds on Saturday, did they have Easter egg hunts?
Yes.
Well, I know this. They had one of them. The Jackson Area Kiwanis Club had their Easter egg hunt Saturday afternoon at Manpower Park, and you saw many scenes like that. That's Mom helping her 2-year-old. That is, I don't have her name with me right now, but I took several pictures like that, just all over the place. It was by age groups. They had 10,000 eggs. And if you're thinking that people didn't come out because they were worried about the weather or wet grounds, forget about it. So many people came out there, and parents were allowed to go out and help the real little ones help. And Kiwanis had it set up so well because they had it by age groups, because it's not fair to put a 2-year-old against a 10-year-old.
Not necessarily, no.
That's very active, Here's one of the older kids that you can see how well this young man did.
Holy moly.
He's a 12-year-old, and it's kind of like the jelly bean thing. How many eggs does that young man have right there? I'm going to say over 100. What do you think? Just on the visual there.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, anyway.
Good job.
He may not have any teeth left now, but he left with that many eggs on Saturday. We'll have some pictures. hopefully in our Wednesday paper from that.
How
and
fun.
we'll be telling you maybe more about this later in the week, but there's even more Easter egg hunts
A
next
lot of them,
Saturday.
yes.
That's the day before Easter, including the big one at the Wellston High School baseball park that the Sons of the American
Yes.
Legion do. 10,000 Easter eggs there. That's the number that the Kiwanis had as well.
Aren't you supposed to be in Disney World?
Leaving at 11.
Oh,
I was just getting packed.
Dylan just missed us all, so he came in to say hi.
Hi, Dylan. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Pete?
Yeah, Dylan is going to take a magical trip. Isn't it coincidence? I was just going to give a little promo on that. Later today, the Jackson High School band, don't have to say a whole lot because we had the band kids in here, but
Yep.
they're going to be leaving later this morning. They'll be back sometime Saturday afternoon.
It'll be
but,
fun.
It's not only going to be, I understand it's at 2:20 p.m. on Thursday when they're going to march down Main Street. And
There
I tell
you
you what,
go.
if you've ever been there, spectator or whatever, I can only imagine the thrill of being in the
Oh.
band, marching down there, everybody applauding,
fun.
seeing all those kids being in the same parade with Mickey Mouse and Pluto and Goofy and all of them.
Cinderella and all that.
It is truly magical. It is memorable, and it will be memories that will last those kids a lifetime.
Yep.
And they'll all get to go to all the parks as well. Dylan let me see kind of like the plans on their itinerary or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I am jealous that
I
I'm
know.
not going.
You
I
guys are
truly
going to have
am.
so much fun.
And it's true that many of those kids have never been to Disney World and would never be able to go if it wasn't for something like
That's
this.
right.
So kudos to all the organizers, director of bands Ryan Hurd, all his staff, the band boosters who work behind
man.
the scenes to make all this happen financially, because the school just doesn't rain down with thousands of dollars to make this happen.
no.
No way. It is private fundraising with the families, the kids, and the band boosters that make it happen. It's easier for some kids to afford than others, but I think they make sure that everybody has the opportunity to go. Is that not right, Dylan?
Yep, they do make sure of that. And I heard this morning, Pete, that you were going to try to come by with your 50-year-old trombone and see if you could join us.
Right. I know I don't qualify because I was
he
not,
already knows.
I was not the most dedicated band member. I told this story before, and I'm not ashamed to tell it again. I dropped out of the band my junior year. Not only was I not the best trombone player in the world, I wasn't as committed as I should, but I didn't like where they put the band seating for football games in the old stadium because you couldn't see the game. And that was important to me. I wanted to see the game. So anyway, I told on myself, and that was
did.
bad. That was bad.
Dylan, what
I
do
still
you-
got the trombone though.
He does still have the trombone. What do you look forward to most about going to Disney?
Honestly, I'm really looking forward to just being around the friends I've chosen to be in the hotel room with me, because all of them are like good friends of mine. I'm just excited to see what things we're going to get into.
Okay, don't get in too much trouble. Have
no
fun
trouble.
though. He's like, hee.
All right, it's going to be great. Aligned with spring break, so they don't
Oh,
have to
yeah.
miss school or anything like that. It'll be something. I think Jackson last went in 2018, maybe. They try to go every 4 years. They always, I think, try to have a nice trip every year. But Disney
Sure.
is kind of like the thing.
The thing.
And they try to make sure, as a group comes through grades 9 through 12, somewhere in there, you got a chance to go to Disney.
Yep.
So anyway, so good luck to all of them.
Have a
and,
blast.
And safe travels, certainly. It'll be a long travel, about a 16-and-a-half-hour trip by car or bus. So,
His face just. He's like, really?
okay, all right.
No one told you that yet, did they?
Okay, well, the chaperones, God bless them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Download some movies before you leave. Yeah.
All right. Well, the Wellston City Schools Board of Education are going to have a public meeting on Wednesday. It's going to be at 3:30 p.m. At the. It's going to be at the district office, and this is an opportunity for you to have input on the district calendar for next year.
Okay.
That's something that the schools decide internally. A lot of times the staff has a big say on this. The teacher unions do, because they're the ones, that have to work it and like that. There's so many days that you have to have instruction, but you have a little bit of latitude on days off and when you do them and like that, how many days for Thanksgiving, how many days for spring break. The more days you have off during the year for breaks, obviously, the longer in the school year you're going to
Right.
go, or the earlier you're going to start. So it's a little bit of a debate every year, or it can be. But this is a chance for the public to weigh in on it. 3:30 p.m. This Wednesday in the Wellston City School District. There's also going to be a meeting this Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the Jackson City Council chambers by the Jackson Visitors and Convention Commission. They still have money they have not awarded yet for tourism funds.
Okay.
And a lot of projects have been funded. Others were put on hold. Others were told there may be more money later on. So that is always important. We will be following that. Also, another project that ODOT has announced that we want to tell you about. We have not told you about this before. It's going to start next Monday, April the 10th. It involves the State Route 32 Park and Ride resurfacing. Right out there, not too far. It's a little bit east of where Holzer is. You know, that park and ride out there.
Yeah.
They're going to do a resurfacing project there starting on the 10th at State Route 32 and Russ Road. The park and ride, therefore, will be closed for 5 days while this resurfacing is taking place.
Okay.
You can also look for, once again, no date was given to me. You can look for, at some point, resurfacing taking place on East Broadway Street in Jackson. They continue to do
East
work along
Broadway.
the curbs. East Broadway by Bellisio,
Yeah.
down through there, little bumpy, you know.
Yeah, a little bumpy.
They did what they call some subsurface repair last year. And,
Yeah, it didn't
and they're going
work.
to do the actual paving this year.
Okay.
Okay. Also, do not forget that we got a holiday weekend coming up. Not only Easter egg hunts.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, it is,
Yes,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Easter.
It's Good Friday, and then we got Easter Sunday, Maundy, Thursday, some church services there on Thursday as well. But on Good Friday, some, not all, of governmental offices will be closed. That will affect, of course, garbage service and like that. We've got that list published and online in our paper as well. So you want to look for that. This weekend, we also have the Apple Festival contest. In last Saturday's paper, we had all the list of the little girls that are going to try to be Little Miss Apple Festival for next year.
Okay.
They'll do the Apple. This will get that list. I'm not sure how many we got, but there's a lot of them. Down to 10.
There's always a lot of them.
10 little girls
Yes.
will emerge as finalists, and then
so
one
cute.
Little Miss Queen will be picked during the Apple Festival in September.
Okay.
But the current Little Miss Apple Festival, who is Jalen Velez, she is a 2002. I think we've met her before.
She is
She will.
awesome.
She will preside. It's confusing. She will preside over this year's festival. On Saturday, we're going to pick new Apple Festival royalty. The big girls, so-called. I hate to say that because I'm not saying that they're big.
The queens.
Yeah, the older girls, right?
Yes.
The queen and two attendants. Those girls will reign over the Apple Festival this year, and last year's festival royalty. This will be their farewell.
Yes.
You know, these two contests this weekend. But we will have coverage there, of course. Jeremiah Shaver will be there with his pad and pencil and camera
Very
to cover
good.
both contests this weekend. Our own Alex Shope was in Wellston last weekend to cover the Wellston Main Street Spring Shop Hop. So we'll hear from him
Cool.
later in the week about that event.
Yeah.
That was an event by Main Street. The Jackson Area Chamber of Commerce, of course, had their shop local egg hunt where you went into businesses that had the eggs. It's that
Yeah,
that
that
concept
was a
where
cool
it's kind of
thing.
a fun thing for families, and it gets somebody into businesses. It's another thing that the chamber did. That was last Saturday. Quite a few participating businesses were involved in that, and the band is not the only school group that's going out of town to a resort type place this week. The Jackson High School baseball team is going to Myrtle Beach.
They are. That's going to be so fun, too.
Now, we broadcast the home games. We couldn't get approval from the brass here, even though they're usually very supportive, for Dan Morrow and I to go down to Myrtle Beach and spend the week.
James and I volunteered too,
I-
and they just
yeah, I
weren't having
tried.
it.
They nixed you guys too. Okay, I cannot believe that television coverage. Well, anyway.
I mean, come on.
Because we don't have a long enough extension cord to reach Myrtle Beach. We won't be bringing any ball games from down there, but we're
Yeah.
reporting on what the team does there. And then I think our next broadcast game, because we do broadcast the home games in all seriousness, that will be Wednesday, April the 12th.
Very
so
good.
we'll be back in business.
Quick question, guys. So theoretically, you're on the baseball team and in the band, and you have to decide Myrtle Beach or Disneyland. Which one do you go with?
Oh.
You know that there has to be.
Is that a thing? Are there band members and baseball team members?
He said yes.
Okay, well, they had to make a choice. Not unless they have transportation between the two. Because, the baseball team isn't playing all the time and the band isn't on Main Street all the time.
That'd be a pretty rough commute.
That would be tough.
That would be a rough commute, yeah.
That would be tough,
Oh, I don't know. That would suck.
Very good, very good question there. Well, I tell you what, whichever one you choose, you can't lose.
That's right. Exactly.
But anyway, I bet you we have a cycle search clue, don't we?
We do have a cycle search
Well, we better
clue.
get on with it because the bell's about ready to ring, the 10 o'clock bell.
Do you know what, Pete? We are in week 7 already of the cycle search. Can't believe it. Today is day 31, and today is day 31. So you can, we'll get you the clue here in just a minute, but want to thank our friends at Campbell's Market, there in MacArthur, and Mark Porter GM for sponsoring the cycle search. Okay, day 31 clue. It's the start of April. And we're still at it. Get out and search if you want to find the key packet.
Okay. All right. Stringing them along, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Well, you got to stay with it. There is.
Gotta stay at it.
We don't have an end date to this now.
No, we
it all
do not.
depends on you folks out there how well you are stringing these clues together.
Yes.
You've got to stay with it. And usually the person who wins it, I think I'm not out of line saying this, the person that wins it is the person who is committed.
Oh, very
from
committed.
start to end. Now, obviously, as we move along, we're going to have maybe some more defined clues, you might say.
Yeah, I know people that, literally get up in the morning, wait for the clue, and go.
Right.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, remember, we got two.
Stay at it.
We got two, not a one, but two motorbikes that are going to be.
You're not kidding.
Exactly.
Fun. All right. Well, thank you, Pete, for spending your morning with us. And we have a week kind of chock full of a lot of guests. So we look forward to this week. Always fun to bring lots of fun people in. Who is tomorrow, James?
Ryan Pelletier from the Fair Board hopefully will be in tomorrow.
Hopefully no fires to put out. Okay. So we'll talk about Neil McCoy, all caps.
Okay. All caps, right.
All caps.
Do not forget that.
Yes. So have a great day, everyone.
All right.
And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
This just in.
The Telegram News has a new website.
TheTelegramNews.com.
Same dedicated coverage.
Same trustworthy news with a brand new look.
Covering Jackson and Benton counties and surrounding areas.
Locally owned and operated, TheTelegramNews.com has its finger on the pulse of the community.
Stay up to date on local events, high school sports, and breaking news.
TheTelegramNews.com.
Subscribe today at TheTelegramNews.com.
Check it out.